Okay, so this is presentation and analysis. What I would like to see you able to do for presentation and analysis at this point is to know that you have two basic categories. You've got property, plant, and equipment, and intangible assets. Within property, plant, and equipment, you have land as a category that's listed separately because it's not depreciated. You have buildings shown less the accumulated depreciation that goes with them. You've got the natural resources, I'm using mine here, net of the depletion that goes with that, net of any of the accumulated depletion. And then you'd have a total for your property, plant, and equipment. The patents are generally shown net of the amortization. Goodwill not amortized, so that's just listed as is. And then you'd have a total of your intangible assets. Your book gives two different ways to do this. With, I think it's illustration 923, they sort of lump buildings, equipment, and all kinds of, and land all together, and then have one account less accumulated depreciation. At this point, I would rather have the clarity of, keep the accumulated depreciation with the building it goes with. If you have equipment, there would be separate accumulated depreciation that would go with that. When you're in the real world with big companies, a lot of times they'll have property, plant, and equipment, less accumulated depreciation or just net, and then they will have supporting schedules in the notes to the financial statements. But for our purposes, I think this is a fairly good format to aim for. As far as the analysis goes, they want you to do the asset turnover ratio, which is net sales. Okay, so we go net sales divided by average total assets. Average total assets, you usually have your balance sheet that will have total assets on it for at least 2 years. So your average total assets, you would take the beginning total assets. Okay, so to get the average, take the beginning total assets plus the ending total assets and divide by 2. And that gives you the number. If we look at brief exercise 914, that will, it just gives us an example of that. They give us the net sales. Okay, so they give us net sales of 63.4. And then we have to compute the average total assets. So they give us beginning of 44.1. They give us ending total assets of 44.5. So if we add those together, we get 88.6, divide by 2. We've got our average total assets of 44.3. And so when we divide that out, we get an asset turnover of 1.43 times. Now that really doesn't tell us much unless we compare it with how this company did last year, come up with the asset turnover ratio for last year. Or we can compare it with other, or it's basically, and we can compare it with other companies in the same industry. So let's just say that we're company A, okay, and we've got our 63.4 over total assets of 44.3, and we've got company B that has the same net sales, okay, but they're generating those sales on total average total assets of 10. So they have a 6.34 asset turnover ratio, and ours is 1.43. Now, can you start to see why company B might be a little bit better off? Both companies are generating the same dollar amount in sales. But in order to generate those sales, company A is using a lot more assets. Company B is generating a lot of sales with a lot fewer assets. For ratios, any of them to be meaningful, it's good to compare them with how the same company has been doing over time and with other companies in the same industry.